Hello and welcome back to the Tyre Straights Podcast, the most unprofessional motorsports podcast you're going to find on the internet. Here with your two lovely, partially, hosts, Doots.
And I am Scobbo.
There we go. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. Forgive me. I'm in a bit of a giggly mood.
Bit of a giggly mood, yeah.
Well, I've got my chocolate milk.
I've been trying to get.
Sorry,
I've been trying to get this recording done for nearly 2 hours now.
It has. This is not our first take, ladies and gentlemen at home. This is not our first take.
Gotten very sidetracked.
Yes, we did. But it's fine. We're all good now, and we're ready to provide you some more top quality slop for your listening pleasure.
Indeed.
So, what's How are you doing? You've asked me. I haven't asked you. How are you doing?
Yeah. Doing fine. Doing all right. I haven't really done much. Watched decent bit of the motorsports. I managed to watch the all of the MotoGP this weekend. Some of the Formula E. So I got a bit of bit of a look-see on it. I didn't manage to catch any of the 24, like the Nürburgring 24 that went on.
Yeah, I only caught little snippets of it really. But
yeah, no, that's fine.
We got plenty of that to talk about later. After we get through everything today, we'll be discussing some of the motorsports events that have happened this last week. But in the meantime, in the lead up to the Canadian Grand Prix this weekend, what's happened? What's happened in the world of F1?
Well, I was going to say first, what we're doing this today is going to be as we're getting closer and closer towards the summer break, where we're going to have an awful lot of the big contract talks for who's moving where, especially as a lot of drivers' contracts finish at the end of this year or are currently ambiguous. So if what we're going to do is talk about contract predictions, where we think people are going to go and how everything's going to shape up or look like it's going to shape up into next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, before that, we're going to the general news. Just want to also say, if you're new to the podcast, thank you for dropping by. Make sure to give us a follow on Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, or now Twitter.
Yes, we are now on Twitter.
If you like the podcast.
Yes, please do go and follow us on all social media sites. Instagram and YouTube are where we are typically most active and where we plan to release the most content and all sorts. And that's where we'll be able to interact with you, the fans, more often. So
it should be linked to the channel pages or just Tyre Straights on whatever platform.
Yes, you can't miss
and if there's anything you want to see us do, then please feel free to drop us a comment or a message or XY.
We are that small of a podcast that we will answer it.
Yeah. But let's go into the general
news
before we move into the contracts. What has gone on in the general Formula One world for the past week?
Well, the most important story recently comes from the Red Bull camp. Obviously, a lot of drama going around there lately, but some more positive news. Red Bull has launched a pair of Crocs with an F1 car style design, and they are $95, I believe, when they go on retail, because they go on retail the 21st of May, day before the Canadian Grand Prix. So it'll certainly be a nice piece of merchandise. It's expensive, very expensive. Tremendously expensive, not at all reasonably priced. But
I mean, F1 merch is generally not that reasonably priced.
No, it really is not. The only reason I even have any is because I got it given to me for free. So,
fair.
Yeah, I did it. I got selected to do to be part of a focus group with Aston Martin. And they sent me an Alonso cap for free.
That's cool.
It was cool. It was very cool.
That's okay. If you couldn't tell, the fact that we're talking about Formula One merch tells you that not much has actually happened.
No.
In the past week. Basically nothing. The only other two small talking points, and they are barely talking points, is that one, the new Nürburgring circuit that's being built for the Spanish Grand Prix this year has made a bit more progress, so much so that they've sent Carlos Sainz, who is the ambassador for the circuit, to drive around it in a Mustang with him and Lawrence Barretto, and so far it looks interesting. It's shaping up better than I was kind of expecting. Like I wasn't expecting it to be great, and we're still yet to see anything about the proper racing. But stuff like Le Monumental, like the massive banked corner, looks very good. Like it looks promising. It should be interesting. You might get some IndyCar style crashes going around that like steeper bank, which might be interesting to see in Formula One, but too early to tell, really. And the only other talking point is going to be bad news for you, Scott, because Honda have had the first annual loss in 70 years, which means there's possible budget cuts coming their way if they don't think of anything to turn it around. And as the Aston Martin F1 program isn't exactly going fantastic at the moment, it would not shock me if they try and pull funding from that. But I really hope they don't, considering it's barely off the ground at the moment. You know, they've just come back into the sport. Well, just come back into sport as a full works team. And it would be a real shame for them to pull funding from Aston already. But we shall see. What are your thoughts on that?
Agonising, really. As a long-term diehard Alonso fan, I didn't think they could get any worse this season. But they never failed to impress me. So yes, it's unfortunate, but I really hope that it doesn't involve the cutting of funding where it's needed in Formula One.
No, very fair. But yeah, that's genuinely all there is for the general news for F1. There's like nothing has happened. We've mainly just been like picking at scraps to try and get anything. Yeah,
really, yeah.
But who knows? We shall see. We shall see. With an actual race coming up, might be able to actually get some news and information out.
That we shall. But until then, it is time to get to the meat of this podcast episode. And as stated previously, we are going to be running down through how we think every team is going to look when it comes to driver lineups at the start of next season. So some of these we've gone along the same lines, others we haven't. But we will begin with Aston Martin, where we are both unanimous on who is going to be the 2027 driver pairing. And what have we put, Doots?
Well, we have both put, for Aston Martin, understandably, Alonso and Stroll. Because they are the two eternals of the sport.
For differing reasons.
Fact that for very different reasons. The fact that Alonso just won't retire and Stroll just won't get booted out.
Yes, I mean, recently Alonso has made it sort of based on comments that, not necessarily alluding to anything particularly deliberate, Alonso has made comments lately stating that he'd probably stick it out for at least another season. And meanwhile, Daddy's cash will be in the sport long after my own death.
Alonso did say somewhat recently that one of the things he wants is his
son,
kid
to be able to sit in the car.
Yeah, to sit in his F1 car.
Yeah.
Which is right. So, like a couple more years, I'd probably say.
At least one more.
And then they'll call that.
At least one more.
If I were to take a prediction, I'd say he might honestly do 27, 28.
I think it's likely. Especially if the car needs that developing.
Yeah, and there's also the rumours that we're getting new regulations at some point in like 29, 30, 31. And I think he will definitely not be around by the time... He shouldn't be around by the time the new regulations...
Wow. Never say nothing.
Are there.
Never say nothing.
I would say if he ends up staying in that sport for 30 years...
I will have no problem with it.
I'd be mildly concerned to be a little past his prime. But still... If he keeps pulling in results, he keeps pulling in results.
Not Fernando. He'll be doing this until Lily Verstappen is on the grid. But yes, to move things along from Aston Martin, we arrive
going in
at Cadillac.
Going in reverse championship order of the teams.
Yes, and we
go next to Cadillac.
Once again, we reach a state of unanimity. And what have we selected here, Mr. Doots?
Well, we haven't selected anything. We've just gone with the fact that both Bottas and Perez already have contracts for 2027. And kind of just went, yeah, they're going to stick with them.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why they wouldn't. They've both contracted until at least the end of the 27 season, so...
Yeah, they're all two... They're also, like, two race winners and pretty quick drivers in their time.
Yeah.
That would be good for developing a car and whatnot. So it makes sense why they are the ones that are sitting in that car, getting the data, trying to make the improvements. There's also the other thing with Cadillac is they only have one reserve driver or any driver that they're connected to.
Yes.
Which is Colton Herta. And currently Herta is racing in F2 and doesn't have the super license points to make it to F1. So I think what they'll 100% do is give him an extra year and then move him up.
Yeah.
And with that extra year, they'll just keep Bottas and Perez, and then whoever leaves, or if both of them leave, then they'll bring in someone extra. But I'm pretty certain that Herta will be the first person to fill one of those slots, unless he's taken by another team.
Well, we've got past the first two, and now we finally come to a point of disagreement. So, who have you gone with for the Audi camp in 2027?
Indeed. We begin to get onto the ones where are a bit more interesting,
Yes.
changes in contracts. I have gone for Audi, however. I've gone for Bortoletto and Hulkenberg again, but I'm really on the fence because I feel like Hulk might be walking away at the end of this year. It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up leaving the sport at the end of this year, as, you know, taking care of a child. He's got the podium, he's been in it for a while, and while Audi are a brand new team and there is still prospect for them to move forward, he has also done 2 years with Sauber now, with the Sauber camp team. So I wouldn't be too surprised if that's enough and he thinks it's time, or to move over to endurance. You know, he is already a Le Mans winner. He might look over at the increase in hypercar teams and think that's a good place to go right now. Those sorts of things. And I initially was thinking they'll swap him out, like he will leave and they'll swap him out, but I think they'll get him to stay for at least another year, or maybe probably only one, because Audi have no replacement at the moment. They have one development driver that is like Freddie Slater, and he is in Formula 3 at the moment. So they try and hope that Slater jumps forwards into at least doing well in Formula 2 before they let Hulk leave, or at least let him go without a fight. Sorry.
You are forgiven.
For any other backups or whatever, I've no idea. Like, genuinely, if it's not going to be Bortoletto and Hulk, I have no idea who they'd put in those seats. Bortoletto obviously staying because, one, young gun rookie, still needs a bit of time. He has proved that he's got pace, but definitely going into 27, he will need to show he has something to keep him on the grid. But he also comes with Brazilian sponsors, which pay decently well, because a large South American audience that's relatively untapped. And then if they were to replace someone, I literally have no idea who they'd fill in with. They'd want a German driver, so bring back Timo Glock.
Nick Heidfeld.
I don't know. Nick Heidfeld, Timo Glock. Fuck it, bring back Mick Schumacher. Drag him out of IndyCar. I'm sure it's not the end of the world.
Well, you it's funny that you say that, because I have gone on quite a bit of a it's very, very fine-liney kind of thing here, you know. Because I agree that Bortoletto will be retained. I think he's proving to be quite strong, and he's obviously, like you say, he's got a lot of sponsorship from Brazilian sponsors. I think they'll at least give him another year extension and then see how they feel at the end of that contract extension, whether they continue to sign him on sort of single-year extensions from there. Who knows? I think they'll, like you say, probably try and get Hulk to re-sign, because, like you say, they haven't really got an alternative yet. Their junior driver is not ready. But I think he's got a young child on the way. Well, he's already got a young child, sorry. And, you know, there's the likelihood that possibly he'll have another or whatever in the time between. And obviously he's entering his 40s. I can very much see him stepping down and, you know, taking a bit more time for his family. Now, with Audi being a German team, I can see them doing the same thing Mercedes did when they joined the sport, when they signed Rosberg and Schumacher because they want German drivers. They want that German identity. And I think they will indeed sign another German driver. Enter Pascal Wehrlein. Now, hear me out.
I'm sorry.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me now. All right. Wehrlein might have already had his Formula One moment come and go, so to speak. He had 2 seasons in F1 with Sauber in, I think it was 2018 and 19, was it?
Think so. It's got to be around.
But in the years between, like before and since, he's also been a reserve driver for Mercedes and a development driver for Ferrari on across 2 years, not consecutively though. And he has recently had more success than he did in Formula One, having captured the Formula E Championship and is currently the Formula E Championship leader this year. Now, I'm gonna as of right now.
No, that's changed.
Has it? Oh, as of when I researched for this video, he was the Formula E Championship leader.
I believe as of this weekend, it has changed.
All right, but yeah, either way, the precedent has been set. Think back to 2023 when Nick de Vries, former Formula E champion, was brought in. Not that I'm suggesting the results spoke for themselves, but the precedent was set that a driver who's perhaps older and has achieved success elsewhere has been brought in. I can see Wehrlein being brought in as an experienced driver who can be a face for the team until the Audi-backed juniors have had enough time to sort of make progress through the lower ranks comfortably, instead of being rushed up, and they can move to F1. And I think, you offer Pascal Wehrlein an F1 seat with a team that's doing relatively okay, aside from a few reliability issues, with a team that's doing relatively okay, especially for a new team with a new power unit, I think he'll snap that up right away. So I think that the 2027 Audi Formula One lineup will be Gabriel Bortoleto and Pascal Wehrlein.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I just looked at it. He was 2016 to 2017.
That was it. I knew it was. I thought it was further back.
Yeah, and then he'd been in the Formula E Championship since like 2018.
Yeah.
Or like the 18-19 season, and he got his championship in the 23-24 season, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's what I think.
No, it's a complete bit of an out there one, but you know what? I respect it for being just so random.
You have to be brave with these things, and when the thing is, it's not entirely out there. Like I say, they don't have the junior drivers right now ready. They don't. There's no one else really, and like I said, they'll probably want a German driver. They've got that with Hulk right now, but should Hulk step away, who better?
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's us done with that. Essentially, Bortoleto staying, it could go either way, but they're going to be German regardless.
Yes, indeed. And now we move on to Williams. And once again, we are back to a bit of a...
agreement.
Yes, indeed. There is a bit of agreement here. So, the consensus between us is that the Williams lineup in 2027 will be Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz. And Albon, his contract comes to an end either this year or at the end of next year. I think at the end of next year, but it's depending on where you look, the water's a bit muddied there. And I think his contract does have performance-based extension clauses anyway. So even if it does necessarily end this year, at the end of this season, he may well, be retained for another year at least. And I'd fully expect him to remain under contract. He's proven to be, the Williams workhorse so far since he joined with them after, doing not so well in the Red Bull family. So yeah, I think he's really matured as a driver. He's found himself, and Williams are quite comfortable giving him that seat to continue, just plugging away at it.
Yeah. I'm in agreement. It is Albon and Sainz, at least for next year. I'd say that Albon is a very talented driver, like a decently talented driver, but there's definitely only so many arguments you can hold for him still, because he has kind of not he's had some pretty damn good seasons at Williams when the car has been bad,
yeah,
but has also not delivered tons, but I don't think it's worthy to get rid of him. But I will say he should be pulling something out of the bag next year to get another contract secured, especially if Williams have a better driver in the wing. I don't know if they do, though. Sainz, on the other hand, having only been in the team for a year, has already gotten them their first 2 podiums since Stroll was in the team.
At Baku and Qatar.
Yeah. And I think as long as they provide a good enough car for him, he'll stay. I don't think Williams will ever want to let him go.
No.
Like, Sainz is a very good driver, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think if there was going to be anyone that would take that spot, it would be Luke Browning, who's currently racing in Super Formula, got 4th in last year's Formula 2 Championship. And is probably the best of the Williams Academy right now. But I don't think they're going to be moving aside either Albon or Sainz to make way for Browning. I think it's going to be if one of them drops out or has a horrendous change in form, then he'll fill the spot.
It's also worth mentioning that Sainz, from what I've been able to muster from my research, is apparently also on a similar deal to Albon, with like a performance-based extension clauses and things like that. So I think it's completely more than likely that he'll be remaining as well, at least for another year. And like you say, I think out of the 2 drivers, they'll probably want to keep him long-term more so than Albon.
They've also had Albon for longer.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And in that, as much as Albon did finish higher in last year's championship, the highs with Sainz were higher. And I think he's got the momentum on his side now. I think he'll be, the one that sticks around.
I think it's an odd one. I think we'll just have to see, realistically. We'll 100% just have to see. Right, moving down and up the grid, we have now got VCarb.
Yes, and we return to being in different minds. How about you? How about you start us off?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to start off with. I think this is an incredibly tight one.
This is close.
This could go in several different ways, but I think the simple thing is it's going to be Arvid Lindblad who holds his seat 100%. And it's that second seat. I think it could easily go between either Lawson keeping it for another year, Nicholas Solov graduating from F2, or Imu Iwasa being dragged over from
Super
Formula. And I think it entirely depends on the performances of all of them. I think realistically, the way it'll be is if Lawson has a particularly good season, he'll stay. Otherwise, they'll swap him out. And then I think it's if Solov has a great year, then he's going to take the seat. But if he doesn't have a particularly good year, I think Iwasa is just the default stand-in. But it's such an odd one because it is so performance determined. But if I had to take a gamble and take a guess, pick one of those 3 who I think is going to keep it, I think I'm going to go with Solov. I think he showed a pretty damn good performance in Formula 2 or Formula 3 last year. If it wasn't for the fact that Rafael Kamara was absolutely dominating, then I think Solov probably would have had the reins on the title. It's a really hard one to judge because Kamara was just so dominant. But so far in F2, he's leading the championship. I know the season's very early, but he's gotten both a sprint and a feature win, which it's good signs going forward, but you never can be too sure. Could drop off in form. But yeah, I think while I could completely see either Lawson or Iwasa holding that other seat next to Lindblad, I think my bet would be on Solov.
I'm a lot more clear-cut with my sort of decision-making. I can see what you mean with Solov, but I personally just do not think Solov is ready. He's only just moved up from Formula 3. This is his, obviously, debut in Formula 2. And I think he'll need some time to really mature and get a feel for everything before he then gets bumped up to Formula 1. So with that in mind, I've gone for long-term Red Bull Junior Ayumu Iwasa. Obviously, Lindblad gets retained. He has so far been, relatively impressive. Currently, he's got the statistic of being the youngest British driver to ever score points. He's had a lot of sort of hype built up around him previously. I've seen, even before he joined Formula One, I saw Red Bull doing promotional material with him, all sorts. And, if his current trajectory is anything to go by, he's got a pretty bright future in the sport. Now, meanwhile, Iwasa is the reigning Super Formula champion, and he is currently leading the Super Formula Championship this year as well. So I think this proves that he has matured and is ready for the next step up. I mean, he already had 2 decent seasons with F2, with Dams, the team Dams, finishing 4th and 5th respectively, and he's already the official V-Carb reserve and sort of development driver this year. I think, with everything in mind, and I know Red Bull have, for some reason, never really liked Lawson, so I think even if he does have a decent season, they'll probably give him the kick. And I think they'll finally give this long-term Red Bull Junior his shot. And I think he'll be the best pick for it.
That's fair. Yeah, I think it's such a weird one because they get Lawson has had with Iwasa, he's the same age as Lawson, right? So would it make sense getting rid of a 24-year-old driver who has experience in the car at least and is currently in 10th in the championship? He is the second highest Red Bull driver at the moment. Would it be worth getting rid of him for another 24-year-old who is fresh into an F1
The thing
season?
is, I don't buy the idea that F1 drivers need to be children. I think that you can... And already, I mean, Iwasa has been racing in Super Formula, which is generally regarded, and I'm not just saying this to help my argument, it is generally regarded as being, sort of more competitive and, sort of viewed with slightly more prestige than Formula 2 in terms of, the open wheel, racing divisions that there are out there. You've got sort of Formula 1, then IndyCar, and then you've got Super Formula. And I think with that in mind, he's shown that he's already good in Formula 2 in the previous years. He's developed his craft. He's proved himself in Super Formula. He's very likely, if he continues his form this year, to achieve a second Super Formula championship. I do really think that, in spite of the fact that he's 24, that does not make him too old for a Formula 1 seat. Or a Formula 1 debut, rather. I think they'll give him his chance. They'll put him on a single-year contract, of course, because they'll always be cautious with this kind of thing. But I think they'll give him his shot. And whether he does well or not is completely up in the air. I won't speak to that, but I think in terms of actually getting a contract, that'll be him.
That's fair. I just think in my mind, it's because it's V-Carb. It's they are the put in a young driver and train them up so that they can get to Red Bull team. Yeah. But also, Lawson's been sitting there for a bit and has already been to and back from Red Bull. He's pulled the Gasly. So, I don't know. I don't think it will happen, but I can completely see the reasoning why you'd think Iwasa would take the seat 100%.
It's definitely
he's
my thinking.
Definitely in the run. It wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me in the slightest.
I think he's the favourite, in my opinion. But anyway,
that's fair.
To move along, this is actually the last one that we are differing in opinion on.
We're differing but there are going to be some other comments.
Yeah,
and backups
I was going to say we'll rattle through the next ones while sort of making the points and making our justifications. And this is the last one that I'd consider personally interesting. And that is Haas, America's F1 team, as they brand themselves. So, where are we with Haas on your end?
Well, for me, Haas is going to be Ollie Behrman, and it's going to be Rafael Kamara.
Okay.
So I spoke about him slightly earlier with the Solov section. He absolutely dominated Formula 3. He's currently Formula 2, I believe he's second in the championship? Maybe third?
I think he's at least top 3.
Have a quick look real quick. He's third. Okay. He's third at the moment in the championship. Gotten 2 feature race podiums. and is performing quite well. And as a Ferrari junior driver, I think they're just going to put him straight in there. Because there's only one other Haas driver that I can think they might try and stick in there, but it would be it's one that makes sense, but it could go completely awry. The main thing I'm thinking is that with Behrman also being a Ferrari driver, like reserve, he is 100% next in line if Leclerc or Hamilton or whoever, probably Hamilton, packs up and leaves. I'm next to certain as soon as they pack up and leave, Behrman's being dragged over as long as he keeps up current form. And Ferrari will want another junior driver starting to get trained up because Leclerc isn't exactly young and is not exactly the most happy with Ferrari anyways.
Yeah.
So if they can get two Ferrari drivers trained up and decent, especially ones with as much promise as... I mean, Behrman's shown his talent in Formula 1 already. He deserves to hold that seat.
Absolutely.
Kamara has certainly shown in Formula 3 that he's got insane pace. F2, it's currently doing decent. There's obviously, completely different kettle of fish when it comes to Formula 1, but it's worth giving him that shot. And I also think that while I do like Ocon, like I'm one of... There's a lot of people that absolutely despise Ocon. I don't. I think I quite like him as a driver. It's nice someone that will actually just fight regardless of who they're racing against.
Yeah.
I think that he has had his time and hasn't been putting in performances.
No.
That are worth keeping him around.
His last podium was 23 Monaco, wasn't it?
Oh no! There was the 24 Brazil.
Oh yeah.
Like when there was the double Alpine
podium.
Yeah, that was it.
Like,
and I think that's the thing, is that it's not that he's a bad driver, it's that he's a wholly inconsistent driver. Yeah. Which I think Haas does not need. They want someone with a bit of consistency. Maybe having two rookies isn't the most clean, but there is also the chance that due to the ties with Toyota Gazoo Racing, and his official role as reserve driver, that they put Hirakawa in. And I understand your conversation of you shouldn't have to be a child to be put into a car for Formula 1, but do you think that 31 is maybe a little too old to be jumping into an F1 car for the first time? Fair enough.
Roland Ratzenberger was a rookie, but he was the same age as Ayrton Senna when he made his debut in 1994. Obviously, I know that was 30 years ago, but still, I think the point stands.
Completely different, age demographics back then, but that's the thing. It's it's gotten younger and younger as time has gone on.
I feel like that shouldn't be the expectation, though, is what I'm saying.
It's
I'm trend,
pretty sure,
Hamilton,
Hamilton was a hotshot rookie kid at 22 or something like that. So it's that you can definitely still pull out the stops while not being the youngest. But it wouldn't shock me if they bring in Hirakawa, because there's a lot of money behind him, and also he is tied to the team, both the main sponsor of TGR and the actual Haas. But we shall see. I think I'll go Behrman and Kamara.
Okay. I've gone along sort of similar lines because I have also retained Behrman. He's having a great season so far and is very clearly proving to be the stronger driver in the Haas pairing at the moment. And with that in mind, I can see him being retained while they let Ocon go. Ocon hasn't put the performances in so far this year. And of course, that could change. He could turn it around. But I really don't see them, even if he does, like you say, he's had his time. Not to suggest that he's over the hill or anything, but, he's had his time. He's not proven that he should be retained. So I think he'll be let go. Meanwhile, and I'm getting, once again with Pascal Wehrlein, it's a little bit of a reach, but with Haas being an American team that currently doesn't really have very much American identity, they've got a French driver and a British driver at the moment. I can see Cadillac Junior Colton Herta being poached, because I think that he'd be privy to jumping ship if he's offered a seat by them, since Cadillac has no space on their lineup until at the very least the 2028 season, considering Perez and Bottas are both on until at least the end of next year. And like we sort of said earlier, the chances are they may be retained past that point as well to continue developing the car and building the team. I think that given the fact that Cadillac has no space on their lineup, if Herta was offered a position, an opportunity in an F1 team, providing that he's got the super license points, as you said earlier, I think he'd take it. I think he'd take it. Because not only would that be the opportunity he's looking for, but it would also help Haas out because it would legitimize their American identity, which will help them with sponsorship and things too. Considering Haas, like I said earlier, Haas brands themselves as quote-unquote America's Formula One team, but then Cadillac have come in now. As the American team. Yeah, Cadillac have come in now and they are threatening that identity.
They have like three different bases of operations. It's like one of them is in America and they're like, we're the American team. Yeah. But now there is like Cadillac, which is big GM. Like, everyone knows Cadillac as American, and it's kind of... That's right. I think Herta's not an interesting choice to go for that. I think... But what's the thoughts that he'll hop on over... I guess, hop over a chance of a seat, probably.
I think the fact remains that he there's not a seat for him at Cadillac until at least 2028, and like we sort of both were... Not necessarily agreement, but we both sort of put it up in the air that the chances are Cadillac will at least retain Perez and Bottas for another year, just to build the team up a little bit. I think that Herta would, not to suggest that he's impatient or hot-headed, but, he's not going to waste time waiting for his opportunity to sort of fall neatly in his lap. He'll take the opportunity when it comes to him.
I mean, he's an American IndyCar driver. They kind of have to. They're kind of naturally a little bit hot-headed. Headed just in general.
But you know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I'm thinking like, do you really? Is it less about like Herta jumping ship? I'm more interested in like, do you think Haas would really, besides the American team thing, you think they'd try to drag him in over? Considering they're like heavy partnered with Toyota.
With that in mind, the thing is, Toyota, I'm not yet convinced because Toyota obviously has almost as much of a hot and cold relationship with F1 as Honda does. Considering their past in the sport. I think unless Toyota continues to make it very clear in their contributions to the team and the sport that they are here to stay, that they will not have, the ability to say, well, actually, hold up, we want to put this driver in instead. I think Haas is, as much as obviously, it's not that they're on equals, because obviously Toyota's the sponsor, Haas is the team, but even then, I don't think Toyota has the power to say no or to suggest otherwise, should Haas say, this is the driver we're going with.
I'm uncertain on that one. You'd have to look into the legislation and contracts.
Yeah, that's the minutiae of it.
Yeah. So, something we've not thought about, actually. If, for example, for VCARB, they go Lindblad Solov, Iwasa is free and open. It's been dropped for another year. You've then got a driver who has possibly won Super Formula again.
Yeah, he'd be at most a two-time champion.
Yeah, and an empty spot at a team that has very close ties to Toyota Gazoo Racing.
I see where you're going.
That could
I think it could happen. Should he not go to VCARB? Should he not go to VCARB? I can see that possibly happening. Not that I'm convinced. Like I say, I think he will go to VCARB. But should he not, I can definitely see Toyota saying, well, Japanese driver, Japanese sponsor, let's suggest this. Yeah. And I think Haas would be all too happy to possibly facilitate that as well.
I don't think they'd mind. I think they'd be fine with it as long as Iwasa. I mean, he's driven in plenty of FP free practice sessions and stuff like that. So he's got the miles.
He's obviously been a development driver in Formula One. For VCARB, he has driven the Formula One car. He knows what it feels like, and I think that he'll I think he'll get the call up to VCARB either way. But
that's fair enough, right?
Anyway, we shift our focus now over to the top 6 teams. So, top five teams. Excuse me. Sorry, we've added another team.
Finish off with the best of the rest. We'll do Alpine, with Gasly and Colapinto being the 2 drivers that we've decided to keep for the lineup. Now, do you want to say your
Well,
rating
yeah,
first?
Gasly is a sure shot thing. He's contracted until 2028. So no matter what, unless he has some big sex scandal or something, he's staying in. He was the one in the
What
nightclub.
happens in Milan
He was in the
stays in
nightclub.
Milan.
Yeah, not nightclub. Sorry, the prostitution ring. No matter.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, he's on contract until 28. He's proven himself to really be a vital asset to Alpine. He's currently obviously the stronger of the two Alpine drivers, and so far this year, Colapinto has been having a pretty good season. Definitely, not that he's obviously had loads in the past, but it's clearly his best work so far. And last race was a good result for him with that P7. I think with that in mind, they'll give him a single year extension. They'll still be cautious, and they don't want to tie themselves down with him yet. But I think a single year extension will put him on the grid for 2027. Whether or not he ends up having a good season, then that's once again past the point at which it matters for our argument here. But over to you.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. I've gone for the same, but it's mainly from the fact that Gasly, obviously, contract for next year. He's proved last year being the better of the Alpines. The years before, actually, putting in some good performances, and now this year being consistently one of the best of the midfield. Between him and Behrman, those two are easily fighting for the best midfield driver at the moment, and he'll definitely stay for a bit. Colapinto is where it's a bit more up in the air, because I think as long as he keeps it clean, he will definitely get another year in the sport because of the sponsors he brings in from South America. But also there is the chance, as he has had plenty of crashes in, while he was at Williams and while he was in the Alpine last year, and he's not the most clean racer, so I could see it very easily going downhill.
Yeah.
That he could have a bad rest of the season. He's had a 10th and a 7th so far, so he's not doing bad, but it's just about keeping that up. But I'd say if he stays on current form, he'll at least keep it for another year.
Yeah.
But if he's got a catastrophic year ahead of him, I'm thinking Alex Dunn will probably take his place.
Yeah, as the most senior of the Alpine juniors, that makes the most sense.
As the most promising of the Alpine juniors at the moment, I would say Dunn would take the spot. They obviously have the problem of Alpine have 1 million reserve and test drivers. So it could be from so many people, but I'm pretty certain they'll just go with Dunn.
If they had to, yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, to move along now, we arrive at Red Bull. And obviously, this is one that's been very much a point of discussion recently, mostly in regards to Max Verstappen. But I just wanted to quickly start with that and say, in spite of the discussions of Max walking away from the sport, he is still contracted with Red Bull until 2028 at least. And, I'm sure there's probably a clause for him to leave if he wants to. But with that in mind, I think he will remain with the team at least until then. And then, retire to focus on other pursuits, Triple Crown attempt, endurance racing, whatever he wants to do. He's a racing machine, and I think he'll be in racing for a lot longer. But I can see him, even if he then makes a return to Formula One in later years, I can see him sort of taking time off after that. But what do you think when it comes to it?
I'm kind of in a similar boat. I think they're going to give... I'm sticking with Verstappen and Hadjar. They're going to give Hadjar at least another year to improve.
Yeah, agreed.
He hasn't been all that promising. He had really good pace in Australia.
But unfortunately retired from the race.
Yeah, then the car decided to fail on him. And he's had technical difficulties throughout the season so far. Points in China, he's not put in the worst season so far, but it's not been brilliant, realistically. And as such, I think they'll give him at least one more year to prove his worth. Verstappen, it's the fact that I think he's all talk at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think for this year, and he'll at least stick around for the next. But after that, it's very up in the air, especially with Mercedes joining hypercar, McLaren joining hypercar, like a boom in endurance racing in general at the moment. I think it would not shock me if he pulls over towards that and leaves F1 before. I feel like yeah, he is going to be in racing for ages.
Yeah,
Like that guy
absolutely.
will not stop racing. But I think he's kind of proven as of late that he likes his endurance racing.
I think that's where he's likely to
So
go next.
I think he'll definitely at least have one more year, but his time is limited. But I think if Verstappen does leave, there's no chance Hadjar's leaving. I think, unless he has a truly dreadful season.
Yeah,
But if Verstappen leaves, I think they'll probably try and drag over another top driver.
that's what I was
I
thinking.
think the one they were talking about is Piastri. I know there's been word saying out that Piastri would be who Red Bull would go for if Verstappen were to leave, which of all of the top team drivers, he's one of the ones I would expect to jump ship.
Yeah.
But
Speaking of,
it's only if they have a good package.
Speaking
to
of
provide.
Piastri, we get to McLaren, and we have once again reached the consensus that McLaren will retain this year's lineup. Do you want to get into that first?
Yeah. So essentially, it's going to be Norris and Piastri for next year. I don't think anything will change in that unless someone suddenly has like a horrendous year or someone jumps ship.
I mean,
like for example, if the Red Bull car starts outpacing the McLaren and then Red Bull try and draw one of them in, then I think one of them would jump ship for that. But until that, there's no chance they're going to be leaving McLaren.
No. I mean, Oscar Piastri is currently contracted until 27 already. So in this game of contract guessing, he was already safe anyway. Meanwhile, Lando's contract is different because it's kind of like Stroll's, where it is based on every year anyway. So it is, with sort of performance-based clauses like there have been in previous drivers we've discussed already, for extensions to the contract. I think, they're not going to, if they're going to let either driver go, they'd prefer to drop Piastri, but he's already contracted. Norris is their golden boy. He has been for years. He is their champion, most recent champion. He's also, one of the biggest merchandise sellers at the moment, and is, one of the biggest names in the sport right now, for better and for worse.
Yeah.
So I think, they keep both of them.
They'll stick with both of them. I think, and if someone does leave, I think they'll just try drag another top team driver over, someone like a Leclerc or a Russell.
Yeah, absolutely.
That might be feeling a little bit hard done by sticking around for a team for too long. Or I don't think McLaren don't have any one in Formula 2 anymore.
No.
They've got Fornaroli, but he was the F2 champ, but he's not actually racing in anything right now, so I guess if one of them leaves, they might bring Fornaroli into it, but
he's the only name that comes to mind.
He's the only one I can think of that's anywhere close to the top flight in the championships right now.
Well, that takes us to our final two, and we start first with Ferrari. Now, I just wanted to start off. Basically, we've once again retained this year's driver lineup. I think Ferrari are generally quite happy with the lineup they've got. They've got the results, and they've also got the pull. They've got two big names, two of the biggest names in the sport, one of which is one of the biggest names in the history of the sport. And as much as there have been some people thinking that Lewis might retire at the end of this season, putting an end to 20 years of racing in Formula 1 non-stop, I think he'd probably want to, make a bigger sort of deal of it. Not out of an ego or anything, just purely because there are not many drivers that have gone on for so long and have achieved as much as Lewis Hamilton. I think he'd want it to be more meaningful, and he'd want to give back to the fans. I think he'd basically treat his last season as like a retirement tour. So I think Hamilton re-signs for one more year, and then that is his quote unquote retirement tour. And then, of course, Leclerc, his contract is like Norris's, where like it's like a yearly thing. It sticks around, and he just continues to stay on. And he's, as much as he endures absolute torture with the prancing horse, I think that he still has this thought in his mind, this desire to be Formula One champion for Ferrari. So I think he at least sticks it out a little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm similar form of Hamilton, Leclerc. I also think Hamilton will probably do one more year as a victory lap, and to say 20 years in the sport, starting 07, finishing 27, that kind of thing. I really, 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 really want Leclerc to go to a better place than Ferrari. But I genuinely don't think that he's going to move unless another top team offers him a spot. Or Ferrari kick him out, and they won't kick him out.
The thing is, he's got it's like an abusive relationship. He has this sense of loyalty to someone that continues to abuse him anyway.
I don't even think it's a sense of loyalty. I think it's the fact that he's not McLaren aren't going to be offering him a seat. Merc aren't going to be offering him a seat. The only one that he could possibly try and swing is Red Bull. And even then, that's probably only if Verstappen leaves.
Yeah.
Because other than that, he'd be taking a massive step down. Like, if you are a Ferrari driver and one that is loved by the Tifosi, why on earth would you ever move to, a midfield team, other than you're being booted out?
Leclerc to Audi.
Leclerc to Cadillac.
Yeah.
No.
I think he does, in his heart of hearts, still have that sense of loyalty as well, in my mind, at least.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I know everyone wants to win a championship in red. Very few do. But my other thing is that if either of them do leave, I think it'll be Hamilton more likely than Leclerc.
Absolutely.
Like, if Hamilton does decide to retire this year, then I almost guarantee you that Behrman is going to fill that spot.
Behrman will get it. Behrman just will get it.
He will almost 100% take that seat.
I don't even care to indulge the possibility of him not getting it.
That's fair. But who else? Who would go in? Maybe bring back
Michael Schumacher.
Well, if you bring back Pascal Wehrlein, we'll bring back Sergei Sirotkin.
Lucas Degrassi.
Oh man, geez, he's old.
Yeah,
man.
I know, but
he's retiring from Formula E.
They'll get him in.
Yeah. Now bring in Mitch Evans, something like that. I don't know. Just bring back one of the Formula E drivers. That'd be funny.
I already am. Pascal Wehrlein.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
I already did that. Get your own thing.
Yeah, Ollie Rowland.
Nah.
Get him back in.
I tell you what,
Jack Aitken,
comeback of the century for Yuri Vips.
Oh God.
But no, we must
best behaviour.
Yes, he's not allowed to stream anymore. Contract clause.
Yeah,
but yes,
yeah. You boot up Twitch, you're fired.
Even if he signs into the account, it's just got like an alarm that rings in the factory as soon as he does. But yeah, to bring things to a neat conclusion, we reach our championship leaders as of the 18th of May 2026 when we record this. And that is Mercedes. And once again, we have retained this year's lineup. It's not because we're lazy, it's just we don't see there being any reason for them to change. So far this has been a winning pairing for Mercedes. And there's no reason to change that unless things get, ugly, unless we have, a Rosberg-Hamilton level of heat between the two drivers. And
Civil War 2.
Exactly, at least until before the renewals. And I mean, George is already contracted for another season anyway. And I think with the form that Kimi Antonelli's on at the moment, they'll absolutely keep him as well. So, yeah, no change in Merc for me.
No, it's the same here for me. I think that Mercedes will stay the same because, Russell and Antonelli, there's no reason to change that right now. Those are two good drivers. What I can see is if Antonelli keeps up his current form, tensions will 100% build with Russell. And I think he may try and look for elsewhere if a space opens up, but I
Much like
also
Leclerc,
don't think
he'll have to wait for a top team to open up.
much like Leclerc, much like the McLaren boys, most likely Piastri, I don't think he'll move until there's a top seat somewhere promising available.
Yeah.
The other one is that if they were to fill that in, if that were to happen, I genuinely have no idea. They'd probably try and bring in Verstappen, because the issue is, I feel that if it were down to Toto Wolff and you ignored like all systems, I think Dorian Penn would have that car
Yeah.
if Russell left. But the problem is she does not have anywhere near the super license points for that. So maybe stick her in F2 or F3.
Absolutely, just to build her up, because I think by all means
get her climbing up that ladder.
Yeah, exactly. Get her in eventually.
Sure.
Get her in an F1 car, because
I'm pretty sure she's signed to be a Formula A like reserve or test or something. So
just get her driving whatever she can, just to scrape those points up, because she absolutely deserves it.
Oh, for sure. Right, and that's everything contract-wise over.
Yes. If you agree with us, please let us know. If you don't agree with us, please let us know. If you wish to ascertain to our addresses so that you can mail us a pipe bomb, please let us know. No matter what, please engage with us. Please. We need it. Please.
For fuck's sake.
Please leave comments. Please.
Beggars cannot be choosers, Scott.
Please.
Right.
Anyway, we must now move along to the discussion of other race series. This is something that we do every week as well, for those who don't know. We'll go through what's been happening in the world of motorsports more generally, and we'll start up with the NASCAR Cup Series. Now, this is normally what I cover every week, and this week just gone, we had the NASCAR All-Star Race at Dover. And that is a annual non-championship race. It's kind of just a bit of fun, It's always chaotic, and this year was no different. It was won by Denny Hamlin, but he had a very dominant race. He led for most of its duration, 103 laps led. But the real sort of the moments that were defining of the race were the massive crashes that took out several cars on the grid, including a incident on the second lap of the race, which took out several cars, including reigning champion Carl Larson, and setting Ryan Preece's car on fire, which you should look at the pictures of, because it burned up that car. But more incidents followed over the duration of the race, which meant that only 21 out of 36 cars finished the race, which obviously on a grid like as big as NASCAR, that the statistic is crazy. That's nearly half of the field taken out, which only typically happens on the bigger sort of super speedway races like Talladega or Daytona. So, yeah, Hamlin comes home with the victory, although he was kind of frustrated at the end, because with this being a non-championship race, it does not come with any championship points. So he did sort of say afterwards in an interview that something along the lines of basically, the important wins for him have never counted, since he has already won the All-Star race before once as well. And he's still looking for a first Cup Series championship. He's been that driver who's always come so agonisingly close, and yet has never quite managed to clinch it, which has always been an absolute tragedy. But, he's especially kind of unhappy about it right now as the thought of retirement looms ever closer. He is 45 years old, and it does get to a point after a while where you think, how long have I got left? And I'm sure Denny will stick it out for at least another season or two, because that's the kind of guy he is. But, as he gets older, the likelihood of him actually winning a championship just does seem to dwindle, which obviously sucks, because he is one of my favourite drivers on the grid. I've been a fan of his since I first started watching NASCAR. And as much as I'm sort of following Hocevar and Blaney a lot more these days, Hamlin's still where my heart is. So, yeah, definitely a mixed sort of thoughts on that one at the end of it. But looking forward to the next race. Anyway, over to you.
Right, well, I'm here to talk about the MotoGP, and this week it's the Grand Prix of Catalonia, or Catalonia or whatever. And this is a complete two halves situation. First half, the sprint, won by Alex Marquez. A bit of a disaster class for Aprilia, with Martin crashing out and Bez being absolutely nowhere. Acosta was close behind as well, and Di Giannantonio being decently not quite close enough to properly get in the fight, but not far off in the sprint. I also want to mention that Juan Mir is the most unlucky motherfucker on the grid. This man in his career has been in over 80 crashes in the number of years he's not been in, and this one wasn't even this wasn't his fault. Someone there was contact between two drivers, one of them slid out, and it just took him out, absolutely bowled him over. His luck does not get better as well. Now, this is the part where need to be a little more serious. So during the Grand Prix, it had to be stopped twice for two major crashes. This included a crash between Acosta and Alex Marquez, which during the incident you can see Alex Marquez hitting the wall, the bike being strewn all over the field, and has left him with a fracture to the spine and I believe it's a fractured foot from memory. Off the top of my head, I'm not certain about the injuries on that. It was clavicle. That's it. Sorry, it's fracture to his spine and very very slight fracture to his spine, a proper fracture to his clavicle, and so has been undergoing surgery for that. And then the other incredibly scary incident was when on the restart for that race, there was a crash with Zarco and so I believe it was Bagnaia and someone else, where Johan Zarco's leg got caught on the wreckage of Bagnaia's bike, and his body got swung around, end up leaving him lying on the floor unconscious at the time, and had been sent straight to hospital. I believe from memory, he wasn't in critical condition, and he has thankfully been discharged. I believe it was all ligament damage rather than any bone issues, but he's recovering back in France and will 100% not be around for the next couple of races. Same with Alex Marquez. So absolute speediest of recoveries to them.
Absolutely, wow.
Hopefully they're all okay in as good a way as possible. Another one is with the Barcelona test that happened afterwards. Jorge Martin had another crash. He had an insane number of crashes this weekend, and I believe he's had to go to the hospital for fractures as well. It's just an insanely stark reminder of how dangerous this sport is, and still in the modern era of MotoGP and motorcycle racing, people die every year from motorcycle incidents, and we are so lucky that all three of those drivers, especially the first two, that those riders are safe and in decent condition.
Wow.
Now onto the actual race part of the race, and it was insanely close. Obviously, there was really tight fighting between Alex Marquez and Pedro Acosta for the win, and Di Giannantonio was close behind and ended up on the third section of the race, actually taking the win, his first victory since Qatar in 22, I want to say. And because of the how many times they restarted, the order kept chopping and changing. People kept jumping up, people kept jumping down. Martin crashed again. This time with Raul Fernandez, I believe. Or it might have been no, it was Martin crashed with. Yeah, no, sorry. It was Martin and Raul Fernandez, and then there was crash between Acosta and Ayagura, which means that Di Giannantonio took the win. Also followed up by Aldeguer on his Ducati, which first podium for him since his injury last year, and it was someone else on the podium, but it is now Pecco Bagnaia who took third, which is good from him, with Bez in fourth. However, as I've mentioned earlier with the sprint, Joan Mir is the most unlucky motherfucker on this planet. He got second, and then because of the stupid tyre pressure rules that have been brought in, he got a 16-second penalty and dropped all the way back. I'm so sorry for the man. He had such good pace throughout the weekend as well, and he just got done in at all opportunities. Hopefully, he can come back next time. Should he's got pace. He just needs to not be hit by someone or hit by a stupid rule.
Damn.
But yes, I believe that is all for MotoGP this weekend. Now on to the next series, which is Formula E. So the Formula E race was in Monaco this weekend. There's 2 races, and Monaco is probably the best of the Formula E circuits. It's just really nice seeing an actual proper, decently well-designed circuit, especially in cars that can actually navigate Monaco quite well.
And can race
with these Gen 3 Evos. Yeah, they can race around. It's lots of overtakes, a couple of crashes, but in reasonable ways mostly. Dan Ticktum took pole for both races, which absolutely, good show of pace from him. But he somehow managed to fumble it both times, just from a lack of racecraft or just incidents. Who knows, all manner of things, energy conservation, leading to him to drop back. The first race was won by Nick de Vries, which is first win for him since the 22 season, and first win for the Mahindra team since the 21 season. So really big for him, and also first podium for Pepe Marti since his moving from Formula 2 over to Formula E, which is good for him. Decently well in Super Kiro. Then race 2 was won by Oliver Rowland, who takes his first win as champion, as reigning champ, and then it's a first podium for Felipe Drugovich. So we mentioned him earlier. He's moved over, getting his first podium in the Andretti. Pretty good sight to see, and because of his consistency throughout the double header race, the championship lead has now been taken over by Mitch Evans in his Jaguar, which I have no complaints at all. I'm a big fan of the guy, and he has been performing really well. He's been around for a long old time. Monaco was as good as ever, good track as ever, good overtaking, good usage of conservation of energy. Some incidents that were a little bit more stupid. There was a pretty dense one between Da Costa and Dan Ticktum in the first race, but nothing too obscene as I think it was one of the first times they went to the Monaco circuit. There was this titanic pile-up on the first corner where just no one could fit through, and it was so stupid. It was ridiculous. But nothing that bad this time. And yeah.
Well, to move along to the next, it's not really another series, but it's a very big race, and that is the Nürburgring 24 hours. And some of you who maybe don't watch endurance racing may still be familiar with this, given that Max Verstappen did enter with his team, Verstappen Racing, and that obviously generated a lot of interest in this race from those who maybe haven't even watched it before. And I mean, it wasn't the best race for him, unfortunately, his team. As soon as I think it was his last driver change before one of his teammates took over, and within 2 laps, there had been a mechanical failure that required them to return to the pits and do repairs that dropped them right down the order, even though they were in the lead, which is obviously a pitiful shame for them. But with that out of the way, sort of to talk more about the race itself, it is the biggest grid that the Nürburgring 24 hour has had since 2014, with 161 people entering, or teams entering, I should say, and 159 of them taking the actual race start. And it was won by the other Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo, the number 80 of Team Ravenol, I don't know how to pronounce it, but while the number 80 did race, they had a fantastic race. The post-race focus online seems to be on the car that finished 107th overall and 6th in its class, and that was the number 300 Dacia Logan. And this little David among Goliaths was making its 3rd attempt at the 24 hours of the Nürburgring. And in spite of several issues across the race, I mean, it came off the track a couple times, as well as having a sort of big moment with a spin through carousel corner that took out a bunch of the GT3 cars. And then with only 3 hours left, they lost the front left wheel and basically destroyed the brake rotor. But the Logan was towed back to the pits and was able to make it back out onto track to finish the race. And they managed to complete 92 laps, and like I said earlier, they finished 107th overall, which is still pretty impressive. So, while the focus at the start of this race weekend was on Max Verstappen and the Verstappen racing team, it shifted by the end to the story of this little underdog that just refused to give up. And it's a very wholesome story.
Yeah, no, I did see about the Dacia Logan. That was very cool.
It was, and that's the kind of racing I personally want to get involved in soon, because me and my friends have discussed some car racing. But I digress. The only other sort of big story in the world of motorsports more generally is Indy 500 week. One of the biggest races of the year is happening this weekend. The Indy 500 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Absolutely watch it. It's always great. It is one of the biggest races on anyone's motorsport calendar for a good reason. So, yeah, that's coming up this week as well. But with all that said now, I think it's time to make some predictions for the Canadian Grand Prix. Would you care to explain?
Indeed. Yeah. So essentially, each week before we do, like the episode before, we have the reviews for Formula One races. We do our predictions and we keep track of what we've predicted, whether we got them wrong or right, add up scores, and at the end of the year, we will do a little prize for whoever got the most predictions right. We've got 4 categories that we need to do a prediction for, which is our race winner, our race binner, our flop of the tops, and our wildcard prediction, and we'll go through them as we discuss. So, let's get it started.
Yes.
Scobert, what is your race winner?
My race winner is George Russell. Now, not only does he need that sort of bounce back, I think not necessarily, he's still obviously in a great position championship-wise, but I think for him mentally to sort of get over the fact that he is being beaten at the moment by his much younger teammate who's been in the team only for a year, while he's been there for several. I think last year and the year before, last year he won the Canadian Grand Prix in spite of the Merc not being as good as it is this year. Not to say it was bad, but not being as good as it is this year. I think he has pace round the Gilles Villeneuve circuit. I think he has proved that every year that he's shown up. And I think the Canadian Grand Prix will be that track that he is stronger than Antonelli around and will be the track that he bounces back with. So, yeah, George Russell for the win this time round.
Fair enough. I have gone for George Russell as well. Because I believe that, on one hand, I think that Antonelli's streak of incredible races, a little bit of performance, it's got to come to an end at some point. And I think that this will be the track, because also, like you said, Russell is particularly good around Canada and has been past couple of bits. Last year he won, year before, and had pole. Year before he didn't win, on the podium, though. But he was on the podium and he had the exact same pole time
as Max,
Verstappen, who was on pole.
I remember now.
Like Verstappen got pole.
He was very clearly. He's very clearly got good pace there.
Yeah, and Russell was exact same time from memory, but just because he set it afterwards.
Yeah, that's the rule.
And as such, he's good around Canada, and I think he can put on a good performance in the race. So we shall have to see.
Yes, but
I think Russell as well.
Yeah, to move things along to race binner, basically any of the drivers we think is going to make a mistake or otherwise have a bad race.
Have a particularly bad race.
Markedly so above all others.
Yeah, it's a notably bad race.
Yes.
It's not going to be, they bang their wheels with someone once, that's it.
No. Or at least a bad race weekend as a whole. Someone that might have absolutely shagged it in qualifying and not been able to recover, or perhaps even went worse in the race. But who have you gone for race binner?
Well, I have gone for Franco Colapinto.
Really?
I think off the the high of Miami last week, I think this is a very different kind of track as well.
True.
At Canada, so I don't think he's going to have anywhere near the pace. I also feel like he's going to get involved in some stupid incident somewhere.
Right.
I don't know much about the Alpine straight line speeds. I can't say too much. And I don't actually believe he's driven around Canada before. I'm trying to remember when he got replaced, or when he replaced Doohan last year.
I think
he
you're
must have
right.
driven around. No, he must have driven around Canada, right?
I think so.
Just trying to remember is the problem. Give me a moment. Let me quickly check.
By all means.
Yeah, no, he did drive around Canada.
Okay.
He got 13th.
Okay. Well, yeah. Not much to speak of then.
Nothing noteworthy. I think he'll just have a particularly a bit of a shit weekend. Generally.
Yeah. I mean, the person who I've gone for, I think, is along the similar lines. I've said Lawson. Lawson's never had like a particularly dreadful race around Canada to memory. This is the point where you might pull one up and say, well, actually, in 2025, he, blew up.
I genuinely, because of the fact that I think Lawson has only raced around Canada once, and that was last year. Because the other years, he's only had like a partial season.
Yeah. I think, with that in mind, I personally believe that he's never proven much on this track. And I think with the pressure on now, I think, not to necessarily support what we were saying earlier, I think Lawson does know that if he doesn't perform, his contract will be up. And I think the pressure's going to get to him a little bit. So we'll see. Hopefully not. But, that's just my honest psychoanalysis of his brain in this situation.
Yeah, no, fair enough. All right. Now, next, we have got the race. The flop of the tops. We just did the race.
We did.
I need to be able to read. The flop of the tops is basically who we think is going to do worst out of the top team drivers.
Yes.
And this week, I have gone for Isaac Hadjar. And now, I know this has generally been the case for several weekends where he has just been the worst by being the slowest. I think this is going to be a bad weekend, like an actively bad one. I think he's going to crash during the main race or have a breakdown. So I'm saying, like, I will still take it if he's like 8th behind the rest of the top runners, but I think he's going to have a markedly bad weekend in Canada.
Yeah, interesting. I have gone slightly more bold in my opinion, and I have gone for his teammate, Max Verstappen. Now, obviously, we know that Max Verstappen is a great racing driver and is a racing machine, but that does not make him, completely, he's not absolved of incidents. And I think Miami kind of showed some chinks in the armour. With the car being bad and his heart not really being in it so much this year, I can very easily see him making a mistake or doing something kind of stupid or desperate, and it'll put him down the order, take him out maybe, take someone else out. Any of the above. I'm not trying to predict to the specifics here, but I think that he's going to have a flop race. But to tie things off with a neat little bow, we get to our wildcard prediction. And this is not necessarily, something crazy like Franco Colapinto dies, but it is basically something that is not necessarily guaranteed to happen, but may yet still happen. So, what have you gone for?
I have gone for Cadillac getting their first points. It's a little bit wild, a little bit crazy, considering they've been kind of nowhere, but I think a bit of rain in the mix, a little bit of spice.
Yeah.
I think that Perez will probably pop it in 10th or something like that. Or a crazy sprint might give them, like, a point or two.
Yeah.
Something like that. But I have gone for Cadillac getting their first point or points at this Grand Prix.
Yeah. I have gone a bit less specific. I've said that a safety car comes out and either it causes a strategy blunder, either it ruins the strategy that a team was already going on. A team has just boxed the lap before, And now that they've lost track position, but now they've had to lose it. They've lost it for nothing because a safety car comes out. Or alternatively, a team, aka Ferrari, but not getting specific here. Basically, a team fails to capitalize on the opportunity a safety car gives them for strategy. So some kind of strategy blunder relating to the safety car, either caused by or ruined by the safety car. And yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think that's decent prediction. I mean, considering that's happened at a couple of races
Absolutely,
so far.
it has. Hence why I said cough Ferrari.
Yeah, would not be out of the question at all. Now, I believe that is everything for this week.
Yes.
So we should probably wrap it up there. Thank you so much for listening or watching if you have been listening along. Please, if you've enjoyed, follow us on the Instagram, Spotify, Twitter, and YouTube, and give us a like or a thumbs up or whatever thing.
Give us a comment, please. We need engagement.
Yes. But if there's anything you want us to talk about, then feel free to message us on Instagram or leave us a comment or anything like that, and we will happily respond to it or discuss it in another episode.
Yes.
And I think that's everything.
I have nothing to add, so yeah.
Right, so that's goodbye from me.
And that's goodbye from me.